pleasure to welcome you all to our very special assembly. Today we're here to acknowledge, applaud and thank Mrs. Beans for the incredible commitment she has made to our school and the local community. A special welcome to a number of Mrs. Beans family members, friends, neighbours, colleagues and parents past and present who have joined us today to share this acknowledgement and tribute. Music is one of Heather's passions, so it's rather fitting that we start our assembly today with a song. Parents and visitors, you're welcome to join us in singing Reach. rather a fitting song for someone who's always made children really reach for the stars when they've been in her classroom. For the people at the back, we do have a number of spare seats, and Mr. Bell, I know there's somebody that's keen to see you sitting beside her, so if you'd like to come on forward, that'd be great. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Fleming Connell, who's going to read a tribute to Mrs. Bairns. It's very difficult to try and stack so many things about such a wonderful person that's been with us for 32 years into just a few minutes. But it's my pleasure to welcome Paula on stage, who is going to read that tribute. Thank
you. Heather Bairns, the inspirational, energetic, efficient, creative, musical, caring, reliable, humorous, generous, cheese puff and toffee apple maker of the Cotswold Star. It has been a pleasure and an honour to work with you and have as a colleague. Mrs. Bairns started her teaching career at the age of 19 in a town called Haurua in the North Island where your family lived. You taught in your hometown for 1 year in a Year 5 class. You then shifted south to Christchurch and taught at Westburn School for 3.5 years. During this time, you met your beloved George, and together you travelled to Brisbane, where you taught at an opportunity school. This was a special needs school where you found a passion for working with children with learning difficulties. This passion continued on as you taught at a hospital school for 6 months, and then in Sydney, where you taught the physically disabled for 2.5 years. Heather and George moved back to Christchurch, and in 1981, when her youngest son, Chris, started school at Cotswold, so did Heather. This was to be the beginnings of a long association with Cotswold School and the community. Heather continued to work part-time until May 1989, where she became full-time until the present. Mrs. Bairns is a passionate teacher who has always genuinely cared about all the children she has taught. Those of us who have worked with you over the many years are amazed at the enthusiasm you have for teaching children. We have loved your sense of humour, Mrs. Bairns, and you can always find the funny side to everything, even computers that don't seem to work. Your quick wit has kept us entertained on many occasions. Meetings at Cotswold won't be the same without you. Mrs. Bairns is an early riser who hears the paper being dropped off each morning. You have read the paper, completed a crossword, and parked that car in the Cotswold car park before 7 each morning. She's a real expert in all things vocabulary. I'll never forget the time when we went on a bus tour to visit schools in the North Island. Our bus was entertained by Mrs. Bairns, and when it came to thinking of P words to describe the organiser of our trip, wow, Heather was amazing. So if there's a quiz evening to enter or a spelling bee competition on, Mrs. Bairns is the one that you want in your team. Mrs. Bairns has always been our expert reading teacher and has enjoyed the challenge of assisting many children to improve their reading and writing skills. She is patient, persistent, and enthusiastic. She has always been excited about literacy, and this is shown in the work the children in your room have achieved. You have the largest collection of picture books I know, and we all remember when you used to visit Australia and bring back your own supply of big books while on holiday. Now that's dedication. We have all loved your pink fluffy ears that indicate to children that you are taking a reading group and they will need to work independently because you have your busy years on. With Mrs. Bairns' expert knowledge in reading, she has taken reading recovery not only once but twice. And those of us that have trained in reading recovery, we know that this is a huge commitment, accomplishment, and a sacrifice in itself. Mrs. Bairns has surrounded our school in musical talents. You're an accomplished piano player, and I remember the days when we had syndicate assembly, and you would be playing the piano to all our songs and entertaining us all. The recorder is another passion of yours, and the children in Year 2 get the exciting opportunity to learn to play the recorder. And this musical ability has even flowed on to the staff. Responsibilities at Cotswold for Mrs. Benz, and you have used your expert musical knowledge to take our choir to the festivals, Kids in Town, and visits to Bishopdale Mall, where they have proudly displayed their singing talents. The original choir uniforms were always beautifully presented, and even Mrs. Arscott was entrusted with the task of ironing them correctly. With your love of things musical, you have produced our junior school operettas over the years with great success and organised our yearly talent quest so the children could share their singing, dancing, jokes, plays or musical ability, whatever form that took. You are renowned for your collection of interesting hats and creative puppets which the staff have all enjoyed using for various plays. Mrs. Benz, you have always been willing to share your knowledge and wisdom and assist colleagues in any way you can. You really are a great Cotswold carer. You will be sadly missed by your colleagues, parents and children. You have continued to embrace and trial all things new, even computers. You have always had so much energy and dedication to the children that you teach. You were the one who always had everything highly organised and in on time. We wish you all the best in your retirement and know that you look forward to spending more time with your children, grandchildren, and of course, beloved George. Enjoy your garden, dog babysitting, crosswords, reading, and socialising. We look forward to you coming in to relieve and bring in your trees muffins. No more lunchtime trips to check the mail at home, eating crustless sandwiches by morning tea, meetings with munchos and chips at 3:15, early morning chats with Wayne, classroom manager, timelines, timetables, running records, planning, assessment data, Dougal Bear, and computers. Thanks, Mrs. Benz, for your huge commitment and dedication to Cotswold School over the last 32 years. You're amazing and an example to us all. It has been a privilege for us all to work beside you as a colleague and a friend. Take care. We will miss you. We now have a PowerPoint that we'd like to share with you.
It's now my pleasure to invite up on stage the Angels. If they'd like to come forward, please.
Hi, I'm Zinthi. I'm Ella. I'm Hannah. And I'm Kim. We're sad to see Mrs. Ben's heading off, so we thought it would be nice if we send you off with a parting gift.
All the students at Cotswold wanted to show how much you meant to us over the years.
We will miss you. We hope you have enjoyed your years at Cotswold. You have been a lovely teacher and friend to us all. I'll miss your kindness and your creativity.
My greatest memory of you is your kindness that you put into everything.
My greatest memory of you is your encouragement to learn music.
It is very sad for you, for your time has come to an end. I will miss your smile and love. Can you please come to the stage and we would now like to show our appreciation.
Very, very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, we're now going to invite our Kapa Haka and choir to perform a couple of items. So sit back and enjoy their presentation today.
Taku boy,
you very much, everyone. Heather, I'd like to talk to you. And guess what? George is going to hang on to you so you can't run away as well. Heather, the commitment you've made to our school community and to the teaching profession both here and in Australia is huge. You've spent 39 years as a teacher, and we were fortunate that you chose to spend 32 of those years teaching at Cotswold School. George, thank you for giving us Heather. Thank you for providing Heather with support in her role. Thank you also for the contribution you have made to Cotswold School during the long association you have had with our school. Heather, you're amazing, and I know Paul has said that before, but you are amazing. You've had an incredible impact on a large number of young Cotswold lives. You're a dedicated and passionate teacher who always draws the best out of your students. Your experience, knowledge and dedication you bring to the role have ensured students succeed. You've always kept up to date with the most recent trends in education. Laptops. There've been a few. Each one gladly accepted and each one utilised, sometimes commented on. They don't want to work when you want them to work, but always persevered with until success is achieved. Thanks, George, for acting as Heather's personal ICT technician and guru. I remember when we first entered into the ICT development contract and started to do school tours. You were the first in line to join the tour and happily shared the knowledge you gained when you returned to Cotswold School. However, what you didn't share was the fact that you went missing and the whole tour spent a couple of hours searching for you. Heather decided to catch a local bus service back from Tauranga City to Mount Maunganui where we were staying. There was a young man at the bus stop that other Cotswold girls thought looked a bit strange. I got a phone call to say Heather had caught the bus with a strange man and that if she didn't appear at the hotel in 30 minutes, I needed to look for her. Heather didn't arrive in 30 minutes. She didn't arrive in 60 minutes. She arrived about 2 hours later, carrying her winnings. Heather got off the bus to find an investment house close by and decided she had time to fill. Not long after this, Heather celebrated a significant birthday and the staff felt it was a good idea to give her a cell phone. I'm not sure whether George actually agreed. You've always willingly opened your classroom on many occasions for teachers across New Zealand, Australia, China and Japan to visit and learn from you. I'm sure the image they took away was one of a dynamic teacher committed to her role and her children, where failure was not an option and where children had to be committed to their learning as Heather was to her teaching. Heather, it's been a real pleasure working with you. Thank you for the support you've provided for all staff and students at Cotswold. We know your leaving will leave a huge gap in our school and you will be missed. I wish you well in your retirement. Don't be a stranger. You're welcome at our school anytime. I understand staff have especially asked that you attend morning teas and perhaps bring along some of those renowned cheese puffs. I'd now like to ask Heather to join us at the front of the hall where Margaret Deal and Jonathan Owens, our board chair, will make a small presentation to you on behalf of the board, staff and school community.
Just on behalf of boards past and present, I'd just like to thank Heather for her contribution, and it's already been said, I think, very well by Mrs. Fleming-Connell and Mr. Harrison. But I think that the big thing that Heather demonstrates is change. So there's been a massive amount of change in schools in the time that Heather's been involved. When Heather started at Cotswold, there was no such thing as a board of trustees. So back in the day, in the Department of Education that would have appointed you. And so I was in year 3, not at this school but at another school, when Heather started here. So, that just gives you an idea as to how long, and I don't know, we've laughed about laptops and things today, but the amount of change that we've seen in education in 30 years, it's been phenomenal. It's hard enough for a board of trustees to keep up with what's changing in the classrooms and what's changing in schools, but I think the thing that I want to reflect on Heather is it's not a case of Heather being dragged along with it. It's someone who's been passionate about change and not only keeping up with it, but actually embracing it. So, and I think that reflects in the classroom. I remember the first time I came to Cotswold in 2004 when we were looking at becoming part of the Cotswold community, and there was this living treasure in this classroom, and I remember going around the school with some parents and the excitement when we came to Mrs. Benz's class, because some of the parents had been taught by Mrs. Benz and the thought that their children might be taught by Mrs. Benz as well was really exciting, and I think that gave me a really early sense of what it meant to have Mrs. Benz involved in the Cotswold community. So, Heather, on behalf of boards past and present, just a huge thank you for everything that you've done. It's been great that you hadn't been before the disciplinary committee. We've never... Mrs. Benz gets talked about a lot at board meetings, but it's always in a really good tone, so, in terms of what she's doing and doing in the school. So, on behalf of the board and boards, thank you.
First of all, a very big thank you to the lovely choir and the Copenhagen group. You were magnificent. This is such a treat to listen to you and know that I didn't have to do anything to you today. Just listen. So well done. Thanks to John. Thanks for all the nice words from Stephen and Paula and Jonathan. And just to show that I'm a thoroughly modern Millie, I've produced a PMI. Sort of hard to know where to start, but first of all with the pluses. Since we've been here, George and I arrived with the Nigerian team for the Commonwealth Games when they were in Christchurch, with what we hoped was enough money in our little hot hands to buy a house. And we looked at a couple and somebody gave us the advice, you buy the worst house in a good street, and we certainly did. Because we have the best neighbours, we're probably the worst house still, but we definitely have the best neighbours that you could ever wish for, so I think some of them are here today and I wouldn't swap them for the world. We've had the most wonderful contact over the years with people in Bishop Bar, and as far as from a school point of view, I've loved the extended families. I think I've met just about every nana every year, and the aunts and uncles when they come to visit. And that's really lovely. And grandparents today play a huge part in the children's education. I love the amazing kids we've got at Cotswold. I don't think we really realise how lucky we are. We have the most amazing staff, the teachers, teacher aides, office staff, Wayne, all of you. I think this is a place that really does care and share. We've got amazing humour that goes on in school. It's very hard sometimes to be serious. We work incredibly hard. Everybody does. And we work as a team, which is absolutely fantastic. I've loved being part of the Junior Syndicate. I've really appreciated Paula's hands-on leadership. She knows every child in the school, you know, past and present, and she really keeps a finger on the pulse. Very hard to keep up with, though, Paula. I'm planning a few rest days. We've had, ever since, as Jonathan said, school boards are something that have come in over the last few years, and we've been lucky with our school board. We've been lucky with our Parents Association, and I think as a group, the whole school community works so well. We had an amazing school environment, and to quote somebody that we all know from bus trips, who came in and said, "Stephen, your school is a visual symphony." We all know who that is. Okay. Liz, thanks for your veggie garden. Where's Liz? Well, I'm now addicted to spinach. Last but not least in the pluses are the Friday morning teas. Everybody's really quick out of the blocks on Fridays. So I'm going to miss those. And Glenda, you're amazing cooking. It gets better and better every time you contribute. Now the minuses. And you realise you're nearing your use by date when Bree's not the only girl who calls you Nana. Or you meet people who say, "Oh, you're not still teaching, are you?" And then one of my darlings not so long ago was overheard telling her mate, "No, actually, Mrs. Ben's getting tired. We're getting a younger teacher." When I told her mum, she was horrified, but I thought that was quite funny. Another minus is being too tired to manage the Friday social functions. It's really quite an achievement to struggle through the week sometimes. Wet Tuesdays is another minus. I'm a really early starter, and then more often than not seem to end up doing duty on a Tuesday, and then sometimes have to toddle out to the back gate. And then we have a staff meeting. So it's a really long day. Sometimes it's dark when you start and dark when you come home. Another minus is nothing really to do with Cotswold, it's general. It's a huge workload. It really is. Family life suffers and me time just doesn't exist. My favourite. No points for guessing, it's computers. I just seem to get things mastered when the system changes. I just get used to a computer and then they get collected and a new batch arrives and I get done. I'm forever indebted to Tracy, Dave and Cam who dropped everything to help me. And I'm absolutely positive that I can do things to computers that others didn't realise were humanly possible. Now the interesting, I could have written a book about the interesting things. First of all, the changes in the Cotswold buildings over the years. When we first came, we had, I did a bit of relieving actually before the boys started. There were prefabs everywhere. And in one particular prefab I went to do some relieving. I was given a bucket with coal in it and a shovel, and that was your heating. You had to get the old, what was it, a pot belly thing going. The wind whistled through. But bit by bit they left, the prefabs disappeared as the roll dropped and classrooms were taken away. And then it's gradually built up and built up and built up. And as you can see today, we have amazing, absolutely amazing buildings with our lovely hall, our new, I was going to call it the library, information centre. So the buildings are great. Security was very basic in the school when we first started here. And at one stage there were these, just weekend after weekend, the place was getting broken into. So all the boys, the local Aintree Street boys and the PTA decided they were going to fix this. So off they went with their sleeping bags and snuck into the classrooms. Came home in the morning, it was daybreak, they said we did it. Nothing happened. And half an hour later, the neighbour rang. The place had been really done over. Turns out that the Prims had embedded themselves under what was the old library. And the next day they found all the cans and the butts and things, so it was totally different then. But of course now we've got alarms everywhere, security fencing, padlock gates. We've even got searchlights in the winter. Another thing is the traffic. There was no traffic when our boys started school. I remember, none at all, and I remember the first contact I had at Cotswold was when Jeremy started, and I came along with proud parent to pick up my little 5-year-old. And Christine Aiken was the AP then, and they used to let the 2 o'clockers, the little ones, when they first started, for about 6 weeks, went home at 2. So I trotted along with another mother, had her bike leaned up against the fence, and there were only the 2 of us, no cars for miles. And Jeremy took one look at me and probably burst into tears. And Christine said, "Oh, but he's been perfectly fine all day. I don't know what's wrong with him." And I sort of felt suitably chastised, and it turns out that I wasn't supposed to come and pick him up. He was a big boy and he could walk home on his own, and he did. From then on, a couple of mothers would wander down to Gardens Road and wait because it was fairly busy, but nobody came to school. The kids just disappeared into the sunset and off they went. So that's very different now. I mean, as you all know, getting a park's not easy. I love the continuing contact with the ex-pupils. Down at the supermarket, I think I know all the checkout girls. And Luke at the garage, which I frequent quite often. And out of the blue, every now and then, it's just lovely. You get a letter from somebody you haven't heard of or seen for maybe 10 or 12 years, and they fill you into all the news. So that's lovely. Another interesting thing is I've survived 4 heads, 3 caretakers, and some of Wayne's very interesting helpers. I've got 31 staff photos to prove it, but I only finally made it to the front row this year. There have been huge changes in education lately, national standards, assessments, data entry. There's been a huge increase, focus on sport, culture and the arts. There's so many interesting things, but I decided to stop there. Finally, I'd like to pay special tribute to some of the people who have played a big part in helping me manage to spend a long and memorable time at Cotswold. Firstly to George, Jeremy and Chris. It hasn't always been easy for you, but you've really done me proud. Pete, Wayne, Susan, Joe and Paula go back a long way. We've had so many good times. Thanks for all the fun we've shared over the years. Thanks to Stephen, who's been so understanding and tolerant of my struggles with change. A huge thank you to Margaret Deal, who I've known for a long time, but have come to really treasure in the last few years. Meg, you were there in the beginning when we had a family crisis and I needed someone to come in and take over. And you're here at the end. Working with you has helped to make my last years at Cotswold such a happy and rewarding experience. My final words are addressed to the kids. You are offered so many opportunities at Cotswold that not all children have. The staff, board, Parents Association and school community work so hard for you all. Please don't take what you are offered for granted. Make the most of the chances you are given and appreciate the hard work and time and effort that we are all dedicating to you. And finally, some words of advice from someone who really cares. Learn to take risks and to stretch your learning. Don't be afraid of failing, it happens to us all. Bounce back and try again. If you have a goal in mind, go for it. Learn to use your wits, not just now, but as you progress through life. And there's a notice on my door, and I just love it. It's been there for years, and it's one of the most important things, I think, that's impressed me. There's a sign that says, kids who laugh more, learn more. Be happy with what you've got and make the best of everything you are offered. Thank you very much to everybody.
We're going to sing one more song, and then we have a special friend of Heather's and George's who's going to speak. We're going to say thank you for the music. And let's Mrs. Beans hear this really, really well, everyone. It's now my pleasure to invite up on stage Peter Jacobs, a friend of Heather and George's.
Heather, George, Venus family, Tat family, Crosswood, Bagwood, all the trustees, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, boys and girls. I've just written a small poem for Heather, I tend to write these things at a wayward moment, and I thought it was appropriate that I came down to Christchurch a bit early and delivered it here today. So this is called Poem for Heather Benz. Where to now for this stoical person? A holiday to rest, perhaps time in the garden, has given her all to children in need, teaching life values and helping them read. Some would say it's payback time. There will be praises, line after line. Time now to pause, think and rest. She may return to duty to further her best. Has committed her life to a teaching role, brought up a family, another story to be told. Not once from her duty did she shirk. All through her life, great effort and hard work. Well remembered for honest dedication. Absolute excellence was her vocation. This plain message is easy to understand. Mother, teacher, mentor, friend. This is Heather Benz.
Thank you very much, Peter. That brings us towards the end of our assembly, or almost the end. Many of our parents have probably heard the dealings we're having at the moment with NovoPay. Heather was very proactive in ensuring that we looked at getting the right documentation sorted out for NovoPay. And unfortunately in NovoPay there is no form that talks about resignation, doesn't talk about retirement, it actually talks about termination. So we talked about that for a while, and then Heather explained that we are actually going to have the benefit of her services once again in the new year as a reliever. So we didn't quite know what form we were meant to fill in, so we rang NovoPay and they've told us we fill in a termination form. And so Heather has been terminated as of I think about the 30th of January. And then we have to make her a new employee again. So we filled out a new employee form. Now, the way things have been going with NovoPay pay rounds, I would suspect that probably Heather is going to stay on our payroll after the 30th of January and the rest of us are probably going to be terminated. So Heather, if that happens, just remember to throw us a few crumbs every now and again. We'd appreciate it. Thank you everyone for our assembly today. It's recognition of a truly remarkable teacher. And I guess one of the things that I haven't mentioned, but it sticks right the way through everything everyone has said, and that's the word reading. Whenever I was concerned about a junior child that was struggling with reading, Heather was the one we talked to. Heather also ran reading recovery programs for a number of years and stood behind others as they trained. That is such an essential requirement that every child reads, and I know that is a passion of hers, and I hope that when she comes back she will lend us those skills once again. Thank you for all you've done for us, Heather. Thank you also for everyone attending today to show Heather just how much we do appreciate all of you. Afterwards, for parents and visitors, we have a special morning tea where you'll get the chance hopefully to talk with Heather and perhaps share some of your experiences with her. Also, there are one or two surprises amongst that still, Heather, so it's not all over yet. Can't relax quite yet. And we'd love you to join us for that morning tea. For students, you're going to go back to your classes now with your teachers. You're going to have your morning tea, and then teachers will return here while you go outside for play. Thank you very much, everyone. Will this whole seat, the teacher asks you to stand, please?